Star Trek. The darkest secret of Savic's origin was never revealed in the movies. When Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan introduced audiences to Lieutenant Saavik, played by a young Kirstie Alley, she immediately became one of the most compelling additions to the franchise. A Vulcan-Romulan hybrid with a sharp mind and a sense of youthful determination, Saavik stood out among the Enterprise crew, commanding the simulator in the iconic Kobayashi Maru sequence. Yet despite her promising introduction, the Star Trek films never truly explored her backstory. While Spock, Kirk, and McCoy received rich layers of characterization across multiple movies, Saavik remained a mystery. What many fans don't realize is that behind the scenes, her origin story was meant to be darker, so dark, in fact, that it was never revealed in the films. Instead, Saavik's past remained hidden in drafts of scripts, tie-in novels, and whispered hints from creators, leaving fans to speculate on what might have been. The reality is that Saavik's origin contained elements that would have shaken the moral foundation of Star Trek and left audiences with a much different view of the character. The tragic circumstances of her childhood and the implications of her heritage explain why Paramount ultimately avoided putting it on screen. Saavik's mystery in the films. In The Wrath of Khan, Saavik is introduced as a Starfleet officer under Spock's mentorship. Her Vulcan logic clashes subtly with her flashes of emotion, hinting at her mixed heritage. The movie never elaborates on her past, she's simply there, performing her duties with competence and respect. Fans assumed more would be revealed in future films, but it never happened. By Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, Saavik had been recast with Robin Curtis, but her role was minimal. She tended to the rapidly aging Spock on the Genesis planet, guiding him through his Vulcan Pon farr until he could be reunited with his people. Her storyline suggested a deeper connection to Spock, but once again, her backstory was left untold. By the time of Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, she barely appeared at all, departing on Vulcan before the main adventure began. After that, Saavik disappeared from the films altogether. For a character with such a promising start, her abrupt fade into obscurity was baffling. But the explanation lies in the fact that the version of Saavik fans got on screen was only a fragment of the character the writers had originally conceived. The lost backstory. Saavik's birth on Helgard. The most chilling part of Saavik's history comes from early drafts of the Wrath of Khan's script and material later explored in novels. According to these sources, Saavik was born on Helgard, a failed Romulan colony world. Abandoned by the Romulans and left in lawless ruin, Helgard became a desolate planet of violence, survival, and suffering. On this forsaken world, children like Saavik endured unspeakable conditions. Starvation, brutality, and abuse defined daily existence. Her half-Romulan, half-Vulcan heritage made her an outcast even among the desperate survivors. She grew up feral, uneducated, and traumatized, shaped by horrors no child should face. Eventually, Spock discovered her during a Federation mission to Helgard. Recognizing her potential, he took her under his mentorship, bringing her to Vulcan where she could learn logic, discipline, and Starfleet values. This rescue became the foundation of her life, transforming her from a victim of Helgard into the officer audiences met in The Wrath of Khan. Yet none of this was ever explained in the films. To reveal it would have been to introduce themes of abuse and trauma that were far darker than anything Star Trek had ever tackled on the big screen. Why the dark secret was omitted? Several factors likely influenced the decision to leave Saavik's true backstory out of the movies. 1. The tone of Star Trek films. The Star Trek movies of the 1980s were adventurous, optimistic, and operatic. They dealt with themes of friendship, sacrifice, and exploration. While death and loss were part of the stories, Spock's sacrifice in The Wrath of Khan being the most iconic, the tone remained fundamentally hopeful. Introducing a character shaped by abuse and trauma would have shifted the films into far darker territory. 2. Saavik's role was already shifting. After Kirstie Alley declined to return for Star Trek III, Saavik's importance diminished. Recasting her with Robin Curtis meant continuity was maintained, but much of the character's charisma was lost in translation. Instead of giving her a central arc, the filmmakers chose to sideline her, focusing instead on the core trio of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Developing her dark origin would have required a major investment in screen time, something the filmmakers weren't prepared to do. 3. The controversy of the details. It wasn't just that Saavik grew up in poverty and violence, her backstory also implied sexual abuse. Early drafts of scripts suggested that Helgard's children were preyed upon, and that Saavik herself was a survivor of horrific exploitation. Such material was far too disturbing for Star Trek films of the era, especially as a subplot in what was otherwise meant to be a thrilling space adventure. The decision to leave this out wasn't just about narrative focus, it was about sensitivity to the audience. The novels, an expanded universe. While the films never revealed Saavik's dark past, the novels, an expanded lore filled in the gaps. In The Pandora Principle by Carolyn Clowes, readers learn the full story of Helgard and Saavik's rescue by Spock. The book dives into the trauma she endured, her struggle to adapt to Vulcan society, and the lasting scars of her childhood. This novel became the definitive exploration of Saavik's past for many fans. It explained her occasional flashes of emotion, her deep bond with Spock, and her more complex view of morality compared to fully Vulcan characters. In many ways, it made her one of the most layered and tragic figures in Star Trek lore, just not in the official films. The missed potential of Saavik's story. Looking back, it's clear that Saavik's origin story could have been one of the most powerful arcs in Star Trek history. She represented the idea that no matter how dark one's beginnings, there was a path toward growth, healing, and purpose. Her mentorship under Spock mirrored the franchise's larger theme of redemption through knowledge and compassion. Had the films been willing to embrace this, Saavik might have become the emotional heart of the movie era. Her relationship with Spock, already hinted at in The Search for Spock, could have deepened into one of mentorship, friendship, or even romance. Her trauma could have been explored as a way to show resilience and recovery, adding emotional weight to the series. Instead, the films left her in the shadows, a supporting character with untapped depth. Why Saavik still matters. Even though Saavik's darkest secret was never revealed on screen, her presence left a lasting impact on Star Trek. She was one of the first half-Romulan characters depicted in the franchise, foreshadowing later explorations of Romulan culture in The Next Generation and beyond. She demonstrated the value of mentorship in Starfleet, embodying how the legacy of Spock could extend to the next generation. More importantly, the hidden aspects of her past remind us that not every story gets told in full. Sometimes what's left unsaid is as powerful as what's shown. Saavik's silence about her origins mirrors the reality of many survivors of trauma, carrying on with dignity while their past remains hidden. Conclusion: the secret that shaped Saavik. Saavik's origin story is one of Star Trek's great untold narratives. Beneath her disciplined exterior lay a history of pain and survival that the films never dared to touch. Whether because of tonal constraints, casting changes,